What matters more to employees, more money or better perks? That's what we're discussing on this edition of Inside AB. I'm Bernta Boosman and I'm here with Jeremy Lawrence. You had an interesting first word about this, and we had an interesting piece from someone at Kareem. So what does matter more to employees? A company that cares about their well-being or a company that pays more?
Yes, indeed. In the issue of Arabian Business Out this week, we interviewed Ruth Fletcher, who's the VP of People at Kareem, the ride-sharing app here in Dubai and across the region. She said that money isn't always the driving factor when they're deciding. In fact, it isn't at Kareem. Happiness and engagement are very important. She says happiness leads to engagement and engagement leads to better productivity. And they know that for a fact because they've tracked it across the company. So Kareem does things like hire, he's got 3 months paternity leave, which is higher than the average, enhanced paternity pay, sabbaticals and extended time off for higher performances. They also have unlimited holidays in some cases, so that's a bit of another topic, but monthly healthcare days as well. So they do a lot to attract premium talent in that regard.
What about higher wages? Because of course the traditional way of thinking about this is that people that are paid more work better.
Yes, indeed. So according to Fletcher, and this might be surprising to some, she said, our reward strategy is not to spend lots of money on acquiring talent. We cannot compete with some of the higher paying multinationals in this part of the world. So we compete on a value proposition, and wellness is core to that. So she says that Kareem does this obviously because it's the right thing to do, but she says it's also vital for any organisation in this part of the world to attract the best talent. And she says that the reason they have to do that is because the average employee age for them is 28. It's a young company. She says the expectations around how we manage and nurture talents for that age group are really high. And if they aren't met, they will find an alternative employer.
But does a company like Kareem, which is of course really high profile in this region, does it really need to fight for employees?
Well, this is what would be surprising to some. But she said that millennials do look to more than just the salary when they're choosing a job, and that's been said in various surveys. So this led me to look back at a couple of surveys I've looked back on, and indeed on Inside AB in the past year. Cigna Insurance Middle East, they found that 81% of respondents agreed that workplace wellness initiatives are important when in choosing two potential employers. And also there was a 2018 Global Business and Spending Outlook by American Express Middle East. And that one said that 63% of regional CEOs plan to offer more flexible schedules and remote work opportunities, rising to 72% in the UAE. And these CEOs also anticipated an increase in training, relocation and geographic rotation programs, as well as overall improvements to the physical workplaces. From that, it suggests that employers are taking this very seriously.
So, I mean, does that make the equation quite simple that employees want these benefits and employers are responding to that?
Well, here's where it gets a little bit more muddy, the waters. And this is where it'd be great to get the views of our audience out there. There's a mismatch. The Cigna study also found this difference between the theory and practice. So it found that your UAE residents have experienced a decline in overall wellness during the past year, primarily driven by people having less personal time, and this fed into well-being. Only 23% of respondents reported that they exercise on a regular basis compared to 29% in 2017. That's not necessarily the fault of the employers, but nevertheless. 45% said they get sufficient sleep compared to 49% the previous year, and 3 in 5 respondents say they do not have any formal workplace wellness programs in place. Finally, 50% of the respondents claimed that they do not receive adequate support from their employers in dealing with stress. So it seems like companies do understand the importance of tangible workplace schemes, and yet many of them haven't implemented them yet. And also employees, although these things are important to them, not so important they're going to quit the job and find another one if they're not met, because people are working harder and at companies that aren't responding in kind with the kind of wellness schemes they want.
So how does one explain that if everyone seems to know everyone seems to want certain things and understand the importance of these sorts of wellness initiatives? Why isn't it more common?
Yeah, well, that's the $6 million question. I mean, I would argue, I looked at the American Express survey. He said that 90% of regional CFOs who were surveyed anticipated modest to substantial economic expansion in their country this year. And 3/4 of them plan to increase investment levels by 6% or more for the year ahead. But the thing is, this comes off the back of several years of sluggish economic growth in the region due to low oil prices and regional uncertainty. So caution's been the watchword. Employers haven't been ready to push the boat out in terms of their investment plans or their employee wellness schemes. And there hasn't really been a dogfight for talent. They could get the talent they wanted without really having to really go the extra mile in terms of employee support. And conversely, employees haven't felt like they could just jump ship if their demands weren't being met.
So if the economy were to change, could this equation change then? I mean, would there be a change in this regard?
Well, according to that American Express survey, the economy is changing and companies are feeling more optimistic about the year ahead. And so this is where we're really going to see the question that you asked at the start. We're going to see an answer. As the economy starts to really motor along, which it will do, all economies run in cycles, talent's going to be more of a premium, and companies will have to actually decide, do we really care about actually implementing these wellbeing policies? Of course, they might think or conclude, actually no, let's just throw more money at the problem, as used to be the case in previous years, and they'll just offer higher salaries. And at that point, it's going to be really interesting when we have that chat in 2-3 years' time. We will find out then, do employees care about wellbeing schemes or higher salaries? Because they'll probably have a choice between the two then, and then we can genuinely answer that question.
So Jeremy, what do you think about all this?
Well, in short, I actually think that when it comes down to the crunch, that employees will choose a higher salary. But then I'm not a millennial, so we'll see.
Okay, well, thank you, Jeremy. Of course, we'd love to hear what you have to say about this. Would you prefer a higher salary or a company that offers these sorts of well-being programs? And does your company now offer these sorts of programs? Please let us know below. You're watching Inside AB. Make sure to tune in every weekday morning at 10 a.m. and subscribe below. Thank you.